Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark show for January 25th, 2024. We're going to be doing the Week 21 NFL DraftKings picks for the 2023 NFL season. That's the conference championships with the Chiefs at the Ravens and the Lions at the 49ers. $1 million to first slate. So excited to talk about this with Kenny. As usual, Kenny's joining us, president of the capisfake.com. Kenny, how are you?
Oh, bro, feeling great. We're starting a little later than normal because I was hanging out at Disney World with my daughter. Because, as much as we love DraftKings and fantasy football, and some people love betting, I used to love betting, but no longer. And of all the things that people love to do in the world, hanging out with my kids is probably my favorite thing to do, even though they drive you crazy.
Yeah, it's tiring, but it's definitely the best. The last time I was at Disney World, it was like 10 years ago. I think I was telling you it was on July 4th weekend. It was absolute mayhem there, and I was there with Charlie Campbell and his wife. So it was me and my girlfriend at the time, now wife. And I like the one memory I have from that was just like being super hungry, but like everyone just wanted to do something. And like I was like, oh, let's get some food. They're like, no, let's do this. I'm like, okay. And like, all right, let's get some food now. Like, and someone else is like, no, let's do this. Okay. And like, it was like 2 hours later. And like, I swear, like I would have killed someone just to get a hot dog. Like I remember like just dying. Like I finally get a hot dog. I shoved it in my mouth. And Charlie looked at me. He's like, "What? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm so hungry." I was like, "I was gonna kill someone." So yeah, that is my memory from Disney World.
Random funny story. In 2013, I ran into your sister at Disney World once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Did Jackie ever tell you that? I don't know. You should ask her.
No.
This was like 10 years ago. I'm walking through. I'm like, oh, that's Walter's sister. I'm like, hey, how you doing?
That's that. Well, it doesn't surprise me because her in-laws go there every year. So I guess you're bound to run into them eventually. So it's actually surprised you haven't run into them more.
And so I was like, it was pretty. I'm like, oh, cognitive dissonance. So anyway.
Right. Well, you could have asked her if she would quarterback teams better than certain quarterbacks, as you've done on the show. So
that's right.
Yeah, right. So, all right, we'll get into these contests, but please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that would help us out a lot. If you really want to help us out, hit subscribe because we're 65 shy of 4,000 subs, which I want to get to by the Super Bowl. Yeah, it would be awesome to get there without begging on Twitter, which I may have to do next week. So we'll look out for that. And if you really, really want to help support the show, please consider super chats. We had some great super chats last night from Alan Stafford and another one. So yeah, any help would be appreciated because these YouTube ads pay nothing. Before Christmas, they at least paid like $5 an episode. We're like, we're just living large with these great payouts, but now they're like $1.50, and we're close to living in cardboard boxes here. So yeah, any help, like I said, would be awesome. So all right, we get to this 2-game slate, $1 million to first. So I feel good about our chances. But we have 4 quarterbacks to discuss. Unless you want to play backup for some reason. But we have Lamar Jackson at 7,700, Patrick Mahomes 6,900, Brock Purdy 6,400, Jared Goff 6,300. Who do you like the best and maybe second best on the slate?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's one. The one guy that stands out to me is Jared Goff, mostly because I think the Niners, the statistics for the Niners look strong, but if you actually look at the last few games, really good quarterbacks and good offenses have been able to put some points up against them over the last few weeks. We saw what Jordan Love just did. I actually think Jordan Love is a better talent than Jared Goff, but Goff is a good quarterback. He's played good this year. Their offense has played well. I fully expect this to be this game to be a relatively higher scoring game. And so Goff at 6,300 I was a little surprised. I was expecting there to be a little bit more of a tighter spread, between the quarterbacks. So him being 1,400 less than Lamar Jackson and, 600 less than Mahomes, it feels like a little more than we ought to be getting here. So I don't know. I might be crazy betting against the Niners defense here, but I think Goff is probably the best value play.
I think you're onto something. I'm not big on the Niners defense either. Like in the metrics, they're not as high on them either. Like they're 14th in defensive EPA. So nothing special. And the weakness of their defense is the secondary. What they really rely on is getting pressure on the quarterback, but Detroit has an elite offensive line. So Jared Goff's going to be protected. And like the one thing I would normally worry about with Goff playing outdoors is like, oh, what are the conditions here? But it's early, so things could change. But right now, the weather's projected to be 70 degrees, partly cloudy, and no wind. So looks like basically an indoor game for Jared Goff here. So I like the call here. I mean, I think that he's going to be, or look at the ownership in a bit, but like I feel like he's going to be either the third or fourth highest owned quarterback of the four. Like I think that if I had to predict, I would say Lamar Jackson and then Brock Purdy, or in some order, are 1, 2, and then Mahomes might be third or fourth, and then Goff obviously third or fourth. So I don't know. Like to me, I think like Lamar Jackson really just obviously stands out just because like he can nuke the slate. Like the past 2 games that he's played, he's had 39 fantasy points. It's crazy. Like he just runs so much. And we just saw Josh Allen run for 75 or so rushing yards against the Chiefs. It feels like Lamar Jackson can do that. And because of that rushing, like his floor is pretty high. Like it would be shocking to me if he got lower than 20 points. Like and like 40 is obviously the ceiling here. So if you play Jared Goff or the other 2 quarterbacks, like you have to kind of fade that 39 plus performance. You know, you have to hope that he gets like 30. Because if he gets 39, it's gonna be really tough to beat.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, we were just talking before we started recording about, I'm usually the guy that's playing 150 to 200 lineups every weekend. In a 2-game slate, it's hard to come up with 150 lineups you feel good about. I mean, it's just, at least for me. So I'll probably be more in the 20 lineup max type competitions. I like those a lot this week. And I'll probably end up kind of doing some of the single entry or kind of 3 entry ones that I know that you get in on. I don't usually get in on those as much, but I think I may do that this week. So if I'm doing 20 lineups, I'm probably going to be almost 50-50 Jackson and Goff. Or maybe 12 lineups Goff, 13 lineups Goff with like 7 or 8 Jackson, or maybe 10 with Goff and then like 3 with Jackson, 3 with Mahomes, 2 with Purdy, or something like whatever that works out to be. Like I think that's going to end up being my, you want to have some diversity to some extent because you never know who might go off. But I think Jackson could go off, could break the slate, as you said, and therefore you're going to want to have some ownership of him if you can.
So if I were to guess how you would rank these 4, it's Goff, Jackson, Mahomes, Purdy, or is it Purdy, Mahomes at the bottom?
No, I would go Mahomes third, and then Purdy would be my 4th favorite.
Interesting. Why don't you like Purdy? I feel like I think we're gonna see the ownership. I think he's gonna be number 1 or 2. Like, why don't you like him?
My guess he's the number 1, and that's the main reason. I also think I think there's a lot of people talking about Mahomes like he's washed up, and I'm just like, man, I watch this guy play. He's awesome, and he's a big game player, and so I could easily see them just having a huge game. Or I could easily see this game, going into kind of a shootout mode. And so, I think I like. I mean, he is 6,900 and Purdy is 6,400. So maybe that $500, makes it worth. Maybe makes Purdy a better value. But I can easily see this game be a much higher scoring game than people expect it to be, and so. And then Purdy, my guess is that Purdy's going to be the number 1 owned quarterback this week because of the price point, and because people are going to look and see, Detroit 30th best against fantasy quarterbacks, and that's going to incentivize a lot of people to be all over Purdy, and I think that's going to be bad chalk. So I think I'm more excited to be on Mahomes than I am Purdy.
It's crazy to me if people are saying Mahomes is washed up. I mean, he's still great. I mean, his receiving core is terrible.
I mean, Twitter is brutal. Or sorry, X. Excuse me.
How dare you? How dare you? That name.
Excuse me. Sorry. I mean, people are brutal. The things that people say on social, just like, are you guys brain dead?
That's bizarre to me. Like I said, his receiving core sucks. You know what bothers me about Mahomes this week though is like if you look at what he did last week, he played a great game last week.
Yeah.
He misfired 6 times, scored 2 touchdowns. Yet he still had only 18.5 fantasy points against a really bad or really banged up Buffalo defense. Now he gets a tougher Baltimore defense. I worry about the Chiefs in this game. I think this could potentially look like the Chiefs Buccaneers Super Bowl from a couple years ago, where Mahomes is constantly running for his life. Baltimore's pass rush is amazing. Chiefs offensive line was already bad at tackle, and now they might be missing Joe Thuney, their best offensive lineman, who got hurt in the final play of last week's game. So, like, if he's out, they're going to have major issues blocking. So, if I had to order these, I'd put Mahomes 4th. Now, like, I think I would have Jackson 1. I think I'd have Purdy 2, Goff 3. But like you make a great point on Goff, and like you may have sold me on playing Goff more. For Purdy, like for me, I think that like this is going to sound crazy for people who didn't listen to the pick show yesterday, but I think the Lions win this game, and I think the 49ers are playing from behind here, and I think that Purdy could have a big game playing from behind in like garbage time. Not necessarily garbage time, but like catch up mode, in the fourth quarter. And Detroit does allow a lot of big plays. The one caveat here is that like you have to wonder if Deebo Samuel is going to play, and if he doesn't, you kind of look at the performances that Purdy had without Deebo. He had 8.7 against Cleveland. He had 14.7 against Minnesota, 24.3 against Cincinnati, which is pretty good. And then last week, 15.48 against Green Bay. It's not pretty at all. So if Samuel's out, it's definitely a downgrade, and that might knock me off Purdy, especially if ownership's high.
Yeah, if he's my guesstimate is he's the number 1 owned, and so that makes me concerned. I just think people, I'm not trying to be like bag on this guy, but it's just like I just don't think he's an elite talent, and I think he can be full. I think Green Bay exposed a little bit that Purdy's not great, and if you've got a good smart defense, and I think the Lions are in that category. I think they're a good smart defense. Maybe they're not. Maybe Purdy comes out and makes me look like an idiot and throws 5 touchdowns and whatever. I guess it's possible. I just don't think that's reality. Do I think the Lions? I mean, like, I think the most likely scenario is the Niners win this game in a close game. But I easily could see the Lions winning this. And I definitely think from a betting standpoint, if you're getting Lions plus 6 or 6.5 or whatever it is, I think the Lions are clearly the better bet there.
All right. Well, it's 7. So definitely get 7. You're talking about how the Packers may have exposed him. What about the Ravens, what they did to him on Christmas?
Yeah.
The 6.4 fantasy points on 4 interceptions. Like that was the beginning of the downfall, because even the next week against Washington, he only had 17.6 fantasy points. So he hasn't done much in a while. Like Arizona, the last time he played well was against this horrible Arizona defense. So it's been a while. Obviously he's had great performances, but if Debo's out, that's it's a strike against him for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, ownership. What's your guess? How would you order these 4 quarterbacks for ownership?
My guess is that it's Purdy and Jackson are the top 2, and then Mahomes and Goff. My guess is that it's Purdy, Jackson, Mahomes, Goff is my guess.
Ding, ding, ding! You got it exactly correct. Good job.
Look at me.
That's amazing.
It's only 4. It's not the hardest thing in the world. We got 4.
Well, I don't know. You could still you could have messed up Mahomes Goff. You could have messed up Jackson Purdy. But yeah, Purdy is by far the number 1 owned quarterback. And I think you make a good point. I think it's a good fade.
Again, of course, I've faded players before, and it's not turned out great.
Well, I mean, it's all a numbers game. Like if Purdy is projected for, let's say, like 50% ownership, is there more than a 50-50 chance that he fails? I think so.
Yeah.
So that's kind of have to like what you have to ask yourself with this ownership. Like if Jared Goff is going to be like 3% owned or something like that, like there's certainly more than the 3% chance that Goff is the winning quarterback.
Right.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So yeah, that is how you have to approach it. You're going to be wrong sometimes. Like everyone's wrong sometimes. Like even the best DFS players in the world. But like if you just kind of like focus in like that and just do it analytically and kind of realize what you're doing and like just stay focused like that. I think that you could it could end up like really in your favor, you know. All right, let's get to receivers because they pair the best with the quarterbacks. We don't have like anyone over 8K. I'm on Ross St. Brown's price down, from 8,200 last week. He's down to 7,900. The last time he was 7,900 was week 15. So he's been over 8,000 except for that since week 7. So we kind of get a discount there. We have Deebo Samuel in 7,300. He may not play. Kind of curious if he practiced today. He was a non-participant in practice. Actually, let's say he was officially not participant in Wednesday's walkthrough, was seen on the sideline, even did full speed sprints during the portion of session open to the media. But he has a shoulder injury. Of course, like he's full speed, but like he's shoulder, like that's shoulder.
Right, you can still run.
Right, so like it's not affecting his legs or anything. All right, so those are the only guys above 7K, and then in the 6K, you have Brandon Ayuk, Rashee Rice. You only have one guy in the 5K at Zay Flowers, and then there's a huge drop off. So you really have 5 receivers here: St. Brown, Samuel, Ayuk, Rice, and Flowers. So where are you going with these guys?
I'm going to be all over St. Brown. Obviously, if I'm getting a lot of Goff, and Goff being so cheap, I'm going to have lots of space to do. And St. Brown at 7,900, like I guess I don't understand it. Like, okay, he was 8,200 last week, and all he did was have 14 targets and score a touchdown. What? Why did he go down in price? It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand the algorithm. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. It wasn't like he was significantly owned last week and he had a good week. So what percentage chance is that he doesn't match what he did last week? Like, he had 21 fantasy points, almost 22. Like, I think there's a high probability he matches that. So I absolutely am going to be all over him at 7,900. There are other guys I like, but I think I think that's I'm glad to pay up to get him in my lineup. What do you think of that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, especially if you're playing Goff, but even if you're not, like, it's so hard to avoid this guy. He's so consistent. He has a high ceiling and a high floor. Like these past 5 performances, he hasn't gone below 21, and he's hit 30 twice. So he could just go off, and he doesn't have a tough matchup. San Francisco's not very good against slot receivers. They're not terrible, but if it's an average matchup, St. Brown could obviously break through it. And it's someone like him is matchup proof anyway. But he just has the ability to just go nuclear on the slate. Are you playing anyone else up here? I think for me, if I get to someone else, I know you don't like Purdy, but I think Brandon Ayuk looks appealing to me. Now, he failed last week. He had 6.2 fantasy points. He was matched up against Jair Alexander. So you kind of have to understand that. Now he gets a Detroit defense that allows a lot of big plays. And like if the scenario I talked about is true where the Niners are trailing, then obviously he's going to look great because he's going to catch some passes, kind of like Mike Evans did last week. Evans kind of went nuts in the second half. And I feel like Brandon Ayuk could do something similar. What do you think about him? And the other guy like up here is Rashee Rice. Again, this is a guy who failed last week, 8.7 fantasy points. Mm-hmm. But he gets Baltimore defense that is also not very good against slot receivers. Again, not terrible again, but still not great. So I think that you have 2 guys here who have disappointed. So I think that might suppress ownership, although on a 2-game slate it's kind of tough, but still. What are you doing with these guys? And I guess throw Zay Flowers in there.
The Deebo not playing, makes me concerned. Like, he may play. I don't know that I love that. He my guess is he will play because this time of year guys suit up. It's kind of like do whatever, shoot me up, give me the drugs, let me get in there, throw some duct tape on me, whatever. Like that's kind of how guys approach the playoffs. Do whatever I got to do. But like that doesn't mean they're going to be effective. and so it could be a decoy type. And so Samuel makes me nervous to play. Ayuk is great, and I even if you're not playing Purdy, playing Ayuk, and I actually like him. I don't know what his ownership is. I don't know how highly owned he'll be. I wonder. I think people will be like, well, if Samuel's not playing, Ayuk will be the guy, and maybe that bumps up his ownership. But he did have a low outage last week. 6.2 points. So usually when that happens with a good player, that scares people off. Anyone who owned him last week is going to feel kind of bitter taste in their mouth and not want to play him. So I wonder if that maybe depresses his ownership a little bit. Hard to know. So I'm not sure. I don't think Rashee Rice, obviously he's a good player. Love Mahomes, love what they can do. So you want to get to him but I don't know that I love it enough to be all over him. Actually, the guy that I would be all over is Zay Flowers at 5,800. I mean, I don't know why he's like only 5,800. I mean, the last couple of weeks when he's played when he's played a full game. I mean, look, the last couple of seasons, 22, 20 points. I mean, the last three of the last 4 weeks of the season, he's looked great. So, we had a down week last week, but I fully expect him to be able to be effective against the Chiefs defense that has been, not great, over the course of the season. I mean, good at moments and not great always. So I think Zay Flowers is a good bet at 5,800. And I don't know if people are going to be all over him. Like I get the sense that Zay Flowers might be a little bit depressed as well. So of all the expensive guys, I think my favorite is obviously St. Brown. And then I would say Ayuk second, and then I would say Flowers third of all the guys that are in that 5,800 and above range.
Any concern with Flowers regarding like the Chiefs being great against number one receivers because of L'Jarius Sneed? Because like Sneed is like shut down everyone. Like Stephon Diggs last week. He'll get Zay Flowers here. I assume he's going to be a Zay Flowers. Any concern there?
There's a little concern. So I'm not going to go. I wouldn't go crazy. Like I'm not going to have him in every lineup. I'm not going to have him 80% exposure. But I want to have a chunk of him. I think I wouldn't say he's matchup proof. Obviously he's not. But I think there's a possibility that he still scores a touchdown. He has clearly become their number one red zone option, other than Lamar running, of course. But he's become their number one red zone option in the passing game right now. In fact, even Isaiah likely scored a touchdown, in this past game. Zay Flowers is actually the number one read on that play. Jackson was looking for Flowers all the way, and it looked like Flowers kind of slipped a bit. Jackson threw the ball up. It was kind of goofy, likely came down with the ball, kind of pulled it over the defender. It was kind of like a goofy play. You're like, that really should have been Flowers' touchdown. So it's like there seems to be a concerted effort on the part of the Ravens offensive staff that Flowers is a guy they want to look to in the red zone. And so I think that bodes well for this game and going into the Super Bowl.
I was pretty tilted with the Flowers catch, and so Jackson went to with Flowers at the end. It was like one of the final drives to keep the drive alive on third down. Jackson hit Flowers for a pass. I needed Isaiah Likely to get three more receiving yards to get over the prop. When Jackson threw the ball, I really thought it was Likely for a second. I was like, yeah, and then it was Flowers. I was so disappointed. So. It's a feel bad moment, but yeah, that goes to show that like Jackson does go to Flowers in the clutch. All right, so we have like I said, we have big drop off. It's kind of nuts that like there's 5,800 and then the next guy's 4,600. I think like that was reserved for all the Packer receivers. They were in that range, but the Packers are out now. So we have Juwan Jennings, who's preemptively priced up to 4,600. Odell Beckham Jr. 4,400, and then Josh Reynolds 4,000. Before we get to the 3K guys, do you have any interest in these three guys?
If Debo's not playing, Jennings is a guy that I think I want to have a lot of. He was clearly the number one option down the stretch for the Niners, which was weird. But once Debo went out, Juwan Jennings getting 5 catches on 6 targets. A guy who's barely played this year, for long stretches of the season. But whenever Debo has been out, he's been a significant part of the offense. So, it's hard to ignore him at 4,600 if Debo's not playing.
The problem is like if Debo's out, he's going to be owned like in 80% of lineups. It's going to be crazy because everyone's going to want to play him. He's cheap. He's 4,600, relatively cheap though. But like this is the first time all year he's been above 3,600. Now he's 4,600. Like if he were 3,600, I'd be like, okay, bite the bullet there. But like at 4,600, 3x value, you need him to get to 14, and I don't think he's done that all year. Yeah, he hasn't done that all year. Like his best game outside of that last week's game was against Minnesota. He had 5 catches, 54 yards. That's 10.4. That's not going to cut it at 4,600. Like I guarantee that there's going to be a 3,000 receiver who catches, or maybe even at 4,000 even, who gets 10.4. Like there's going to be someone who does that. So like at 11, yeah, like he needs 13 or 14 at 4,600. I think I just fade him. Like I get it. Like I get it. And like if he scores a touchdown, sure, you gets you there. But like he doesn't profile as a guy who really scores touchdowns. He's had 1 touchdown all year. I just think he's going to be overowned. I'll just try to find someone else and someone cheaper who's going to be lower owned.
Yeah, I mean you make good points. If Debo's not playing at 4,600, Jennings is probably going to be significantly owned. So, I also wonder what if Debo is playing, he's active, but he kind of a decoy and he doesn't end up getting a lot of catches. Then I wonder if Jennings gets some significant targets, but is not highly owned, and maybe he's got to score a touchdown. Of course, like he's got to score a touchdown. If he doesn't score a touchdown, then you might be in a really bad situation. Obviously, having spent the money on him.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be better. Like it's a better scenario where he's lower owned. It's still going to be tough for him to get to 13 or 14 points. Like he definitely needs that touchdown. He had 1 touchdown all year. That was against the Eagles. That Eagles secondary, which funny that they're the one team that allowed Jennings to score.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, sign of things to come, huh? Because the Eagles they had Dallas after that, and then they lost to Drew Lock, and then they lost to Arizona, and then they lost to the Giants, and then we got trashed by Tampa. Should have seen it coming. So what about these other 4K guys? Beckham, Reynolds. To me, I think Reynolds is the guy for me. Like he has deep playability. He has 6 touchdowns on the year. It's not like Juwan Jennings. Like this guy has an ability to score. You already said you're playing Jared Goff, so that's a natural stacking option. He had 7 targets against the Rams, 13 points. Last week, only 3 catches, but he caught a touchdown, so it was 10.7. He's $600 cheaper than Jennings, which could allow you to get an upgrade elsewhere. So for me in the 4K range, I think it's definitely this guy.
Yeah, I like Reynolds. There are 2 other guys with the Lions that I prefer to stack with. So if I'm having Goff, obviously St. Brown is going to be with him in most lineups. But I like Laporta and I like Gibbs as well. Mm-hmm. So I think those are the guys. So Reynolds, like I'll get to some a little bit, but I think I like better Goff stack options. So it's going to be hard to get to Reynolds.
Yeah, I definitely hear that, but I feel like you have to go cheap somewhere. So, and I should say, like, if Khalif Raymond is back, I have no interest in Reynolds because his production has increased since Raymond got hurt. All right, so let's get to the 3K range. There are a bunch of guys I like have slight interest in, but like don't love. But I feel like I don't know if he built any lineups yet, but I tried building lineups yesterday. And I was like, man, you have to get to one of these guys to make things work. So you have Nelson Aguilar, 3,800. Jameson Williams, 37. Rashad Bateman, 36. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 34. Justin Watson, 33. Kadarius Toney, 32. If Debo's out, you suddenly have McLeod at 32. Ronnie Bell, 31. Raymond, as I said, 31, but he may not play. And then Mecole Hardman at 3K even. And then just really Chris Connolly, another guy, if Debo's out 3K even. Who are you looking at in the 3K range? Do you see anyone who like really pops out?
Well, I guess my question is, does DraftKings award points for fumbles into the end zone that result in touchback for your opponent?
Desmond Ridder would be like the best quarterback ever then.
I mean, Mecole Hardman would be the guy to get if that was the case. No, I'm just kidding. Ridiculous, obviously. But, I think of this crew, like, okay, it's kind of disgusting. Like, this whole it's a gross crew. But like as I look at like when you look at like Nelson Aguilar, Williams, Bateman, MVS, Watson, Tony. Like I think the only guy in this crew that's really like highly likely to get significant targets is MVS. And he like actually kind of remembered how to catch the ball again this past week. Like he actually he got I know it's ridiculous. Like he called 2 passes, and that's not a guarantee with MVS. So I feel like Bateman and like Aguilar, like they're neither one of those guys are guaranteed any targets. Like Watson, Kadarius Toney, like oh yuck. Like MVS is not a good option. I mean, this is a terrible option. I want to make it very clear, but of this crew, like okay, who do I think is most likely to get 4 or 5 targets, and maybe one red zone target? Like I think MVS is probably the best bet here by a minimal, by just a hair. And so at 3,400, if I have to get to one of these guys, I think he's probably the one I'm going to trust the most. And I just feel gross even saying that out loud.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak down here. It kind of sucks. I have 3 guys I kind of I wrote up as possibilities, and sadly, MVS is one of them. I don't love it, but like he's probably like my number 3 option of these 3K guys. So Rashad Bateman, I know you kind of you talked about him, but so ignore this Pittsburgh game because the starters didn't play. In the past 4 games that he's played, he's had 19 targets. Now in those games, he hasn't cracked 10 fantasy points. Right. he gets targets. He does get targets. He catches like 3 passes a game, but he does nothing with them. But if one of those catches could be a touchdown, suddenly you're looking from 6 fantasy points to 12. And at 3,600, that definitely pays off. You'll be thrilled if Bateman scores 12 fantasy points. It could happen. I mean, like, if he gets like 6 targets like every other game, like he's going to catch a touchdown eventually. He's had 1 this year, I know, like, but his target share has increased since the beginning of the year, and like really, like he's never really gone below 3 targets, like in a game. 3 targets, 3 targets, 3 targets, 3 targets. Like he is involved and he does stuff, but he just doesn't do a lot of it. So 3,600, like I don't think he's the worst play. He's going to get you 6 fantasy points, better than 0, which MVS could do. He could get a 0, but the one guy I have interest here, and this is going to sound like nauseating, is Kadarius Toney at 3,200. He hasn't played in a while. He was injured in week 15. However, he was full practice on Wednesday. Now, like this guy sucks a lot. He's going to tilt you. He's going to drop passes. But he was used a lot before that. Like in the 2 games before he got injured, he got 4 targets each. Again, like didn't do much with them, but with Mahomes, you could always get a touchdown. They always do goofy stuff near the goal line. They could like give Tony an end around, and he could score a touchdown or something like that. He's 3,200. Like you don't need him to do much. You need him to get 8. And like maybe he doesn't get there, but like there is a chance that he gets to 8. So I think that if he's healthy, 3,200, like he could do worse than Tony. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I hate having to.
No, it sucks.
This is so bad. You make good points, and you might be right. It's hard to trust. It's hard to trust Tony. Yeah. If you're building lineups, maybe the smart thing to do this week is if you can build. I haven't done a bunch of lineup building just yet. But if we could build lineup, maybe you don't spend on the most expensive players, and maybe you can get a more even, lineup so that. If you've got more evenly spread out salaries, then maybe you don't have to go to one of these guys. But I tend to do the scrubs and duds type, or the stars and scrubs and duds. That'd be terrible.
You're going for last place. That'd be great.
I tend to do the stars and scrubs, or the studs and duds, or whatever you want to call it, strategy, right? So like, I'm going to have to get to some of these guys, and so yeah, I think if you make a good point for Tony, but I think the better argument you make is maybe try to avoid these guys if you can.
Yeah, I think so. So I think the balanced approach is definitely the right way to go, which is it's just a tough pill to swallow because that probably means you have to avoid Lamar Jackson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Christian McCaffrey. Maybe you can get away with St. Brown because he's 7,900, but you're definitely not getting McCaffrey, and you're definitely not getting the Jackson in that sort of a build. But you said you like Jared Goff anyway, so
Right.
we could see if we could build that sort of lineup. We still have tight ends to get to, so we might be able to find some punt options there. But yeah, let's get to running backs. But before we do, let's hit ownership for the receivers. Who do you think are the 3 highest owned receivers this week?
Let me pull up pull that back up again here. Look at the receivers.
Before you get to that, this assumes Samuel will play just based on the ownership of Samuel and Jennings.
Okay, if my guess is St. Brown's got to be number 1, right? I mean, he's
number 1. Yep.
Yeah, that's not a surprise just because of who he is, and Samuel, the Niners receivers. I feel like it's hard to peg those guys. It's hard to know, like, are people going to not be afraid of Samuel or not? I don't know how people are going to react to the Samuel injury news. So maybe my guess is they're both like decently owned. Maybe they're like 4 or 5, like Ayuk and Samuel, or like back to back kind of deal. Maybe one's 5th, one's 6th kind of deal. That's my guesstimate.
Well, you're right about Samuel's 5, so you got that one.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was okay. That was an accident. I'm gonna guess, man. Look at this. I think Rashid Rice probably is the guy that gets a lot of love.
Number 3.
He's number 3. Yeah, who else is going to be owned here? I'm having a tough time figuring out who would be, a highly owned guy. I wonder if Hardman is 3,000. He's cheap. Do people see him and maybe he's an option? What do you think about Hardman? Maybe is top 5. I bet.
He's 14th.
Okay,
I would bet Hardman under receiving yards. I did that in the first round. I wanted to do that in second round, but kind of forgot to do it, and I'm going to do it this round. And it's the over under receiving yards for Hardman's like 12, but it hit both times so far.
Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
He's horrible.
Yeah, man. I don't know who you said. So Rice was number 3. You said, is that right?
Yep.
St. Brown's 1. I don't know who. I'm not sure who I would think number 2 is. Someone goofy, I bet.
No, it's one of the studs on the slate.
Is it Ayuk?
Ayuk, yep, number 2.
Oh, I'm very surprised by that, actually.
Yeah. I was too, and then I was like, okay, so Brock Purdy's the number 1 quarterback. Kind of makes sense,
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm surprised. I would have thought if Debo was assuming playing that if Debo was not playing, then that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm surprised by that. I was not expecting Ayuk to be number 2.
Yeah. Flowers, by the way, is number 4.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so they're pretty much going in price order, almost. Not quite, but pretty close.
Almost. Yeah. And Bateman's number 6. So don't feel great about that call.
A lot of people are thinking what you're thinking, I guess.
Yeah. No, I don't have any interest in him.
Where is MVS on the list?
He is number 11.
Yeah, no one's thinking what I'm thinking, I guess.
Tony's 15th, so he's even lower.
It's man, once you get off the top guys, it gets pretty rough pretty fast.
It really does.
Two games slate, man.
Yeah, I love 2 game slates, honestly. I won a GPP earlier in the year that week 2 Monday night 2 game slate. It's to quote Ben Rasa from Stochastic. We're sponsored by Stochastic, so or affiliates actually. He said on a 2 game slate, you want to get weird without being stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's almost a showdown slate where you want to do something unconventional, but you don't want to be an idiot. Like don't play backup quarterback. Like that's stupid. But like you could stack a quarterback with only a running back and then no one else. Like that's unconventional. Just something like that.
Right.
Or like the slate I won. Everyone was playing Jamal Williams against the Panthers. I was like, I was like, Jamal Williams sucks. I'm not gonna play him. So I didn't play him, and I played Adam Thielen. Thielen was like 7% owned, which was like nothing on a 2-game slate.
Right.
And Thielen went nuts against the Saints, and like that helped me win. I played Bryce Young too. He was the lowest owned quarterback of the 4 on the 2-game slate, and he actually, I think he was the highest scoring quarterback actually out of Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett, and Derek Carr. It's a bunch of winners there. Not like I had to fade like a Lamar Jackson or something.
Love it.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get to running backs. This is kind of almost like quarterbacks where, you have your starters, you have a couple guys who are backups here, but it's very tough to punt this position. So you have McCaffrey at the top at 9,000 and no one in the 8 or 7K range. Then you have Isaiah Pacheco, 65, Jahmyr Gibbs, 64. And then there's a couple guys in the 5K range, David Montgomery and Gus Edwards. And that's basically it for all the usable running backs. There's Justice Hill, 4,800. I guess you could use him. I've seen Dalvin Cook get mentioned. He's 4,200, but I wouldn't go there. So what are you looking to do? Like, are you going to try to play McCaffrey? I'm based on what you're saying about being balanced. I'm guessing no, right?
I mean, if you could make it work, yeah, but it's just going to be hard to make it work. I think. Like, yeah. I think it's, if you're having McCaffrey, you're inevitably going to have to play someone you just feel gross about. And if I can avoid it, I don't want to play the guys gross. But McCaffrey's going to be. I mean, he's a great player. Two things about McCaffrey that make me. I do think that. I think the Lions are a live dog here, and maybe the Niners offense is a little bit depressed potentially. Number two, Detroit's really good against the run. Like, they're really good against the run team.
Yeah.
And I think the stats don't show as good as they are. So that's it. And then the third thing is he's going to be the number 1 owned running back by a significant margin this week because of who he is, his name, and stats. So if you want to find a way to zig away from, if you want to zag when everyone is zigging or zig when they're zagging, whatever the saying is, going away from McCaffrey's. But my guess is he's going to be the number 1 owned player in the entire slate. And so if you want to be different, if you want to be unconventional, going away from McCaffrey is going to be the ideal way to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be a feel bad moment if you watch him score 3 touchdowns and
that would be terrible moment.
Nuke the slate. Sure, but like you kind of have to, you kind of play the odds that way. Like, he's not going to score 3 touchdowns every time he plays. Like this Washington game, I know he got hurt during the game, but he still had 14 carries, he had 13 fantasy points. If you played him on the slate, you certainly did not win anything paying 9,600 for him. He scored 19.3 against Seattle. Again, like not great. Even the 22, if he like at 9K, you're going to be disappointed with 22. So he has to get to like at least 25, if not like higher, like 28 plus, I think, is where you're looking for with the 9K player. I think 27 is 3x value. So, I'm with you. Like, Detroit has a great run defense, and the Niners could be playing from behind. But then again, that just could mean that he'll catch a ton of passes. I'll be shocked if he gets like lower than 15 fantasy points. Like, I think he's going to be between 20 and 25. I think that's his most likely outcome. Now, he could go nuts for sure. But I'm just going to take the chance because if you play him, you're absolutely locked into one of those 3K receivers, if not 2 of them. So I would recommend not playing him. But like I said, it's a scary proposition. So if you're not playing him, where are you going? By the way, what you just said, scary proposition. I think that's a fair way to say it. Like, ooh, yikes, man! What if he does like go crazy and score 3 touchdowns and they win the game going away? Well, I mean, what if he gets 15 fantasy points and he's owned in like 60% of lineups? Like, suddenly 60% of field's eliminated. I think that's the way to play it.
I think it's going to be more than 60%. Like, my guess is it's going to be like it would not surprise me if McCaffrey is like 80-90% owned. Like, I think it's going to be that.
Well, not to. I mean, I know you're going to guess McCaffrey is number 1 owned. He's projected for 91% ownership. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to last, but like if it does, like hypothetically, if you know for sure that McCaffrey is 91% owned, like I wouldn't play him at all. I would just like bank on him not getting there and like eliminating 91% of the field, only competing with 9% of the field.
You know, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do a little research maybe tomorrow. I'm gonna try to go. I'll go through the season and I'll look and see. I can't think of any week this year where any player was owned by 9. Now, of course, it's a 2-game slate, so very different.
Right.
But like, I can't think of any. Even in Showdown, 91% is high. Like,
yeah,
I mean that's a really high percentage. When I say 80-90%, I was being a little bit hyperbolic, but it was actually true.
Yeah, I want to see what he was owned on the last slate. It was this Saturday, right? So let's see here. I think this is it. Let's see. No, this is the Sunday slate. So St. Brown was 35% owned. I think that was the highest. Let's see, Saturday. Okay, last 7 days. That'll do it. Let's see. Okay, here he goes. Okay, McCaffrey was actually I didn't have him in my lineup, so let's see. Was he in the winning lineup? He was. McCaffrey last week was 81% owned.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was.
I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah, that was on a slate with Lamar Jackson too. So you have Jackson there as well. Again, so it's not like he was on a slate where he was the only high option. So yeah, I assume he's going to be like owned like that again. Like I think he's going to be 80-ish% owned.
Yeah.
And if that's true and he fails, you only have to worry about 20% of the field.
It's pretty remarkable. Yeah, I think that's the advantage.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't answer your question. Sorry. Well, who's my running back? My favorite running back this week. My favorite running back this week is David Montgomery again. Him and Gibbs are basically a 50-50 tandem. Montgomery I think outsnapped him by 3 or 4 snaps in the game and got 1 more carry than he did and got 1 or 2 more targets than Gibbs did, I think. So they're pretty much a 50-50, tandem here. But Montgomery is getting a slightly more action. It's like a 53-47 tandem. Clearly the Lions trust Montgomery just as much or slightly more than Gibbs. And Gibbs didn't get any red zone looks. It was all Montgomery in the red zone. Gibbs, his rushing touchdown came from outside the red zone, from like the 24-yard line, 26-yard line, I think it was. Maybe it was slightly closer, but basically, like really, it's pretty much a split backfield, and Montgomery's the guy they seem to trust more in the red zone. So I'll take him at $900 less. I mean, the fact Gibbs and Montgomery should be equal price, or they should be close. Like the fact that they are $900 separated, I think is ridiculous. So Gibbs is a great player. I mean, I'm not dogging Gibbs at all. I just think Montgomery is a way better value at $900 less.
So I think Gibbs just has a higher ceiling than Montgomery. I think Montgomery has a higher floor. So that kind of tells me that Montgomery is a play in cash and Gibbs is the better tournament play. He's kind of also like, spend up to be contrarian. Because like if everyone like I agree with what you said, like Montgomery looks more appealing because he's $800 less, and on the slate you need to save money. So I think that Montgomery's probably going to be higher owned than Gibbs if I had to guess. Haven't looked at the ownership yet, but I think that there's a chance of that happening. If so, like I'd rather just play Gibbs because he can like go nuts with like 20-point performances. Like when's the last time Montgomery had 20 plus fantasy points? I can't. You have to go all the way back to week 10 against the Chargers. In fact, like he hasn't even had 15 since week 12. He just really hasn't gotten there. And like he needs to like, and what's crazy is that he scores touchdowns. He's had touchdowns in 4 of his past 5 games, and yet he hasn't cracked 15 fantasy points. Whereas like Gibbs, yeah, he doesn't. I mean, he also scores touchdowns, but like he does it in the air. Like he's had 8 catches in the past 2 games. He had 7 targets here in week 16. Yeah, he gets like fewer carries, but it feels like he does more with his opportunities. And
that's probably true.
Yeah, and like I just think he's just a better player overall. So While his floor is lower, I think his ceiling's higher. That just means I'd rather have him in a large field tournaments.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Depending on what style contest you're playing in. Yeah, I wonder. At some point I would imagine there's going to be a game where Montgomery gets 2 touchdowns and Gibbs gets 0, rather than each getting him 1 touchdown. Like I think that's coming, and I want to be ahead of that. And so I guess I like. I don't. The ownership might set me over. If Montgomery's going to be significantly more higher owned than Gibbs, then maybe that's enough to set me over to Gibbs, even in cash lineups.
Yeah, and like I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen. I just think it's because he's cheaper. But now I'm thinking about it, and like Gibbs just had a 21-point performance. So I do wonder if Gibbs is gonna be higher owned. Just because like everyone saw that touchdown that he scored, that 31-yard touchdown that he scored against the Bucs. So I feel like people may want to get to Gibbs. So we touched on these guys. What about Pacheco at 6,500? Any interest?
Yeah, I like him a little bit. I think I like the Lions guys more, but I like Pacheco some. For me, some combination of Pacheco, the Lions running back, and one of the Ravens running back, you're going to have to get to one of these guys. I think trying to play some, rotation of those guys in all of my lineups is kind of going to be the ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it feels like Pacheco has a high floor too. Like he's only caught 2 passes in the past 2 games, but it seemed like he was more heavily involved in the passing game when Jerick McKinnon went on IR. So I feel like if the Chiefs are behind and Mahomes is under pressure a lot, like I think is going to happen, I think the Pacheco is going to get a ton of targets. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all if he catches like 5 passes in this game. It just kind of like goes against what happened, because like that Miami game, the Chiefs were way up in that game, and then in last week the Chiefs had the lead for most of the fourth quarter, so it feels like they didn't need to throw him the ball. Whereas I think that like this week they're gonna have to throw the ball more to him. Now he was out of practice on Wednesday, but NFL Network said it's not a concern. So there's a Q tag, but don't feel bad about that.
Oh, I mean, I was going to feel very bad, but I'm glad you told me.
All right. So you mentioned Baltimore running backs. You have Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and Dalvin Cook. What are you doing with them?
They're all kind of gross.
Yeah.
I think I want to just, maybe spread it out. If I had 20 lineups, let's say, if I had, Pacheco and Edwards in one lineup, and then Pacheco and Justice Hill in another lineup, and then, Hill and Gibbs in another lineup, and Gibbs and Edwards, like just sort of mix it up, balance it out. Except I got to be honest, I don't think I want a lot of Dalvin Cook. Like no. I'm going to minimize my Dalvin Cook exposure. I mean, I probably want to minimize my Justice Hill exposure as well. But you're going to have to play some of these guys. It's only a 2-game slate. You got to have to get something to them. So I think Gus Edwards is probably my favorite of the Baltimore guys by a little bit.
Gus Edwards. Yeah, I feel like Dalvin Cook hurts Edwards more than Hill. Like Hill's going to catch passes, whereas like Cook took away Edwards' carries at the end of last game, in the fourth quarter when they're like running out the clock. Like that's usually Edwards, and like Cook came in and stole 8 carries from him. Now he didn't do anything with them. He had 23 yards. Right. He had a 19-yard run and then like nothing else. Like 7 for 4 were the other carries. This guy's so washed up. I don't know what he's doing on an NFL roster right now. But yeah, like his 8 carries took away from Edwards. Like Edwards should have had 18 carries here, but he only had 10. And so I feel like it's hard to justify playing Edwards. Like he had 4.9 fantasy points against a team that they blew out by 24 points. Whereas Justice Hill, like he's like his role is not going to be taken by Cook. Like he's going to get 2 to 5 catches. I feel like he's going to get like 8 to 10 fantasy points. It's like not the worst at 4,800, but like not great either. Now there's always a chance he goes nuts here like he did against Miami, but that's highly unlikely. But I think that like of the Baltimore running backs, if I had to play one, I think it's definitely a Hill. He's $700 cheaper than Edwards, and he doesn't suck like Cook. So he's like right in the middle.
He doesn't suck like Cook.
Yes, that's key.
That's solid analysis on your part.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's get to ownership here. who do you have as the 3 highest owned running backs?
Well, McCaffrey's got to be number one. We already talked about that, right? You said
yeah,
90,
exactly.
91%.
Yep.
Stupid. That's projection. I can't imagine there's anyone that's like even close to 50%. Like just this is so absurd.
The number two is 36%. Then the number 3 is 28%.
My guess, we talked about Montgomery. I would imagine Montgomery's in the top 3.
Montgomery is number 6.
Oh, okay. That's a pleasant surprise because that makes me like him a little more. Well, I would imagine then Gibbs has got to be top 3 then.
Gibbs is number 4. So that kind of makes sense because I think people the Lions are 7-point underdogs, so most people don't expect them to do well.
That's a good point. I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised that Gibbs is ahead of Montgomery, and I'm surprised that not one of them is in the top 3. Mm-hmm. Okay, I guess the only other good running back is Pacheco, right? It's got to be Pacheco. Got to be in there.
Pacheco's number 2. The real question is who's number 3.
Ugh, yuck. I mean, Edwards is the next guy up. I mean, it's got to be Edwards, right?
He's number 5.
Or Edwards is 5?
Yep. Okay,
what was Gibbs again?
Gibbs is 4. So McCaffrey 1, Pacheco 2, Gibbs 4, Edwards 5, Montgomery 6. Kyle Juszczyk number 7. Kyle Juszczyk always like the guy that people want to play. the 1% of people want to play.
Is Justice Hill the top 3 running back this week?
Justice Hill is number 3. Yep. He's 4,800. He catches passes. It's like you have to save salary somewhere if you're going to play McCaffrey. So
that's actually not nearly as gross as the receiver position.
Yeah. I mean that's what it comes down to. Like in the flex, would you rather play Justice Hill 4,800 or Juwan Jennings at 46?
Oh, I'm taking Justice Hill.
Yeah, me too.
It's funny. I don't. If you had asked me this, would you expected a running back in your, with a lack of confidence in the, after McCaffrey, there's a lack of confidence in all these guys to some extent. There's question marks around all of them, for various reasons. I would not have thought that a 3 running back, lineup is what you're going to want. But I guess that makes sense. Actually, now that you think it through.
Yeah. I mean, it might look gross, but I think we're going to build lineups when we get to tight ends and defense. But like, I think it's going to be tough to build a lineup that you're confident with, or like a lineup that looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So we have, hold on. We have a line. We have a couple of comments here. Jason, coming with this lineup. What do you think about this lineup? Purdy, McCaffrey, Pacheco, Gibbs. So he's going 3 running backs, like we just talked about. Mm-hmm. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, Juwan Jennings, MBS, Ertz, and Chiefs defense. There's a lot of punts there.
Is Ertz going to play in this game?
So we'll get to tight ends in a second, but Ertz was signed by the Lions.
Yeah. Jennings and MVS both feel like big wild cards, but if they pay off, right? If one of those guys gives you a goose egg, but the other guy plays well, this lineup cashes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Like you have 3 punts. You have Jennings, MVS, and Ertz. Basically, like if Debo plays, obviously, Jennings is a huge punt. Like if Debo's in there, if Debo's out, then I think you can justify Jennings. Man, I really don't like this build. I think the way to go is the balanced build that we're talking about. Yeah.
It's a lot of maybe. Yeah, maybe again, if Jennings and MVS both were to score touchdowns, this lineup cashes and probably wins or cashes well. Like because there's not many people going to have this lineup configuration. This is going to be a pretty unique lineup configuration.
I feel like you might as well just parlay Jennings and MVS anytime touchdowns at that point, because I don't really see that. I don't see that happening. I don't like. Jennings had 1 touchdown all year. What MVS probably the same. Like, what are the odds that they both score this weekend?
Yeah, pretty low.
Probably pretty low. I think you can get away with playing one of them, but like having 2 of them and Ertz, that really hurt. I think that really hurts. I don't know. We'll get to lineup construction soon. Let's get to tight ends. like amazingly 4 stud tight ends on the slate. You have Kelsey, Laporta, Kittle, and Andrews. Like, it doesn't feel bad to play any of them, I think. Let's see what Andrews is doing.
Is Andrews going to play?
He practiced fully on Wednesday. Okay. So I think he was close to playing last week. And I don't know. This might be off, but I feel like the Ravens do. They're going to beat the Texans last week, and they're like, we don't need Andrews. So I think that they're going to play him this week, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's not restricted. So I have no issues playing Andrews. But then again, you have Kittle at 53, you have Laporta at 54, and then you have Kelsey at the top of 66. So are you playing one of these guys, or are you going to
punt? Man, I actually want to play one of these guys. My favorite is Laporta, as I mentioned earlier, because if Goff's my number one running back, my number one quarterback, I'm gonna want to stack him, and I'm gonna have some Laporta there. I might even be willing to play Laporta in non-Goff stack lineups, not a bunch. And I think I'm willing to. I think I want to play a little bit of Kittle, not a lot because Kittle's kind of had a down year. And I can imagine, maybe leaving a little bit of Andrews. Now, I wouldn't go crazy with these guys. Like I'm not. I don't think it's absolutely. And I don't think Isaiah likely is going to go away, right? Like he's 4,300 in this lineup, so that's maybe more than you want to spend on his stature of tight end if Andrews is a full go. But he's not going to fully go away. He's been a big part of the offense. He was even involved in the offense before Andrews got hurt. So that scares me off a little bit. I think there could be a little bit of a split there. So I think to me, Laporta becomes my favorite guy in the tight end room this week.
It's hard to hate any of these options, really. I mean, Kelsey 6,600 just because he's way more expensive than the other guys.
Yeah,
he just had this great performance here that came out of nowhere. Really, like he's been a huge disappointment all year ever since that Charger game. I don't think he gets this again. I don't know, 2 touchdowns. Does he do that again? Like,
I mean, the reason is because Jason Kelsey was at the game.
Oh,
and
okay.
He was standing in front of Taylor Swift. So Travis couldn't see Taylor. He could only see his brother's hairy, bare chest. And Jason Kelsey is a motivational figure. I mean, every time I see his chest, I just run through a brick wall, And so, I mean, that's the reason. It's Kelsey. It's the Kelsey effect.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense now.
I didn't know you knew this or not.
I don't know. Maybe it's that reason. And it's like, but because it's like Taylor Swift is like a siren, like and like like what they say, like if you hear a siren, then like you just get drawn to it and you just get like mesmerized. But like you couldn't see Taylor Swift, so like it was like basically wearing earplugs, for that, and so he couldn't see her. So yeah,
she's a siren. Kelsey's like the sun. Like you look at it, instantly it hurts, and you want to look away.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, we don't know if Jason Kelsey's going to be at this game too. So, I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough call. So
see if Adam Schefter or Jay Glazer, if they report around 12 noon on Sunday, if Jason Kelsey is going to be at the game. I would imagine he'd be at the game.
Well, he's got to also not be wearing a shirt too. Good. You have to have that report. Yeah, I think if I were to order these top 4 tight ends, I think Kelsey would be number 4.
I think I agree.
Okay, so for me, I think Kittle is number 1. If Debo is out or limited, because in games where Debo's been out, it feels like he's done more. You look at these games. So ignore this game. Like it was against Cleveland's defense, but then he had 13 against Minnesota. He had 26.9 against Cincinnati. And then he had 18.1 against Green Bay. Those are the 4 games when Debo's been limited. So all really good performances here. I think I'd rather play Kittle. Plus, I think it's the best matchup out of the 4 because Detroit's not really good against tight ends. I think Laporta for me is number 2. And he's going to be healthier. With this game against the Rams, he's not healthy at all. So just ignore that. Last week, what he did, he had 15.5 fantasy points without scoring a touchdown. It's pretty remarkable. So he could get there. And then I think Andrews for me is number 3. Like I said, I'm not going to feel bad about playing him. If he's practicing fully on Wednesday, like that's a great sign that he's going to play. So Yeah, to me, like I said, I'd go Kittle, Laporta, Andrews, and Kelsey. But I don't blame you at all for having Laporta number one.
Yeah, I think that's my. But I think as you said earlier, like it's kind of hard to hate any of these guys.
Yeah, for sure. Now we do have punts here, as Jason pointed out. He's playing Zach Ertz. He was signed by the Lions. I don't know if he's going to play, but just think because Brock Wright got hurt, and the Lions have injury issues. I think that like if you want to play Ertz, like you're risking a zero basically. And I don't know how much he's going to do anyway. Like let's see, like he's going to catch like 2 passes for 20 yards. And then you have Noah Gray, who had 3 catches for 16 yards last week, 4.6 fantasy points. You basically need this guy to catch a touchdown. He's only 2,500 though, so like if you compare him to the receivers that we talked about, like Kadarius Toney was $700 more than this. So I would rather play Noah Gray than Kadarius Toney. Or MBS, or Bateman even. So if you're punting, I think you're going here. Maybe you look at Charlie Kohler. He only had 1 catch, but then like if Andrews is out, like Charlie Kohler suddenly becomes like an option, I guess. But like you really don't have much else here. It's Ertz or Noah Gray if you're punting tight end. The problem if you're punting tight end is like there are 4 studs on the slate. So if like one of them goes to 20, you're not right, exactly. So you're going to need all 4 of those guys to fail, and you're going to need your guy to score a touchdown. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. And I would imagine, my guess, we have, even regardless of what the ownership is, I would imagine there's going to be a pretty balanced ownership across those 4, is my guess.
Yeah. John's saying Kittle if I had to choose from the 4. Yeah, I think Kittle or Laporta. Jason's saying only if Debo's out and they can both suck because everyone rise. Yeah, I mean, if Debo's out, Jennings looks better. But then again, like, I just don't think Jennings gets there. I think that he's going to be, like I said before, I think he's going to fail. So, like, if you had to play one of these punts, is it Ertz or is it Gray or is it someone else?
It's probably Gray. I just, Zach Ertz looked like he had some stuff left in the tank this year. Like he didn't look terrible with Arizona, but it's just hard to know if he's going to act like they literally just signed this guy today, right? Like,
right.
I don't know. It's hard to know. Like maybe he comes in and catches. That's a very tall ask, even for a player with a great pedigree like Zach Ertz. So I think Noah Gray is, if I'm going to punt the position, I think Noah Gray is the ideal bet.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, so we'll get to ownership. How would you order these top 4 tight ends? Because spoiler alert, that's how they're ordered in some way.
No, that's not a surprise. Of the top 4 guys, okay, the order in which they're projected to be owned.
Yes.
My guess is Kelsey, Kittle, Laporta, Andrews.
So you got Andrews right. He's number 4. The other 3 were ordered differently. Kittle number 1, Laporta number 2, and then Kelsey number 3.
Okay, what did I say? I said Kelsey, Kittle, Laporta.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Noah Gray number 5, if you're wondering.
Where I guess Isaiah Likely is the next one, I would imagine.
Isaiah Likely number 6, Blake Bell number 7, Anthony Ferkser number 8.
Don't play him.
Charlie Kohler number 9, only if Andrews is out, and then probably not. And then Charlie Warner number 10. I don't think that Zach Ertz is on this list. No, he's not. So that might change things. So Ertz might end up being number 5 or 6. So,
yeah.
All right. Anyway.
And if you're in a DFS lineup or DFS contest that has a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans, he will be the second most owned, probably.
That's probably true. Defenses. You have Niners at 33, Ravens 32, Chiefs 29, Lions 26. What do you think about these?
I think I like the Lions the most, honestly. They're the cheapest, save the money, and we've seen Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy threw 2 passes right into the arms of Packers defenders last week that should have been picked off. One of them likely would have been a pick 6. Purdy was actually very mediocre for most of the game, and he even had a couple drives where he was actually really bad. Now, to his credit, the last 3 or 4 minutes on the last drive when they need him, he was like, 8 for 8, whatever it was, or 8 for 9, and he was awesome. But I could easily see Purdy giving one away in this game. So I think of the 4, I think you can make a case for any of the 4 defenses on the slate here. I think the Lions are because they're the cheapest, and I think they're just as likely, if not slightly more likely, to get a pick 6. I think the Lions are the best bet in this on this slate.
For me, they're a top 2 option. The other team I like here is the Ravens at 3,200. Just because I said that I think this game might be like that Super Bowl against the Buccaneers with the Chiefs Buccaneers, where Mahomes is always running for his life. I think the Baltimore pass rush could really disrupt things and give Mahomes some problems. And we've seen that, a similar type matchup was like that Christmas game against the Raiders, where the Chiefs allowed 2 defensive touchdowns. Like, I could see something like that happening in this game. Like the Raiders had a great defense, so do the Ravens. I think they could overwhelm the Chiefs offense. The Chiefs make a lot of mistakes. They drop passes. Like, what if one of those drops turns into a pick 6, So, I think that I think Ravens and then Lions in some order for me.
I would say Lions 1, Ravens 2 is probably my favorite.
Okay. So what do you think ownership wise? How would you order these?
I think a lot of people. I think that people. It's hard to know. I wonder if people. I don't think people will be thinking what we're thinking. I think people will be thinking the Ravens won't pick off Mahomes. Mahomes is too good. So I think I would imagine the Ravens get pushed down. Maybe the Lions are above them. And I guess I wonder if the Niners end up being the number 1 owned. So I'm going to guess the Niners number 1 owned because people just think their defense is just like the 85 Bears or something.
You're right. Niners are number 1.
My guess is Niners, Chiefs, Lions, Ravens.
Well, you got Niners, Chiefs 1 and 2. You got that correct. And then Ravens 3, Lions 4.
I mean, more of a reason to get the Lions. If the Lions are going to be the 4th most owned defense, I'm all over it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so it's one of the bottom 2 owned for me, as we said. John saying Kelsey's overpriced compared to the other 3. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, he should be in their range. Like, he's like, this is not the Kelsey of old. This is the Kelsey from last year. Yeah, he should be higher, but not anymore, despite what happened last week. Kelsey had a great game, but think about how banged up Buffalo's defense was. Those linebackers. Like, he's not going to have that same type of performance against the Ravens. I would not play him. All right, let's build the lineup. I want to do balanced approach. I don't want to play stars and scrubs. So you want to stack Goff?
Yeah, let's see what a Goff stack looks like.
Who are we putting with Goff?
To me, St. Brown. You start there, right?
Okay.
And although he's expensive.
Well, I think that we could maybe get away with the St. Brown. Like, it's harder to play Jackson and McCaffrey in a balanced build, Right. But like St. Brown, you might be able to get away with it. So like we'll see how this goes. So who else are we putting in the stack?
I love Laporta. I just it's and I don't know. Does the Lions defense I know the correlation there doesn't feel phenomenal, but they're the cheapest. It's hard to get away from them as well.
It's I go back to what Ben Ross said. Unconventional without being stupid. Like, this is not stupid. Like, right. You can, like, if the other 3 defenses don't go nuts, like by nuts I mean like two defensive touchdowns. The Lions could certainly be there as the cheapest defense. Like, they if they score 10 points and the other defenses score 8, or even if they all score like 7 or 8, then you just want to have the Lions defense. So I wouldn't read too much into it.
So I think that gives us 5,500, 55, 60 per player.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't feel great. It still feels like we might have to get one dumpster dive.
I think so too. So who is that? Well, let's put the running backs in, because you have to spend a certain amount on them. Are we going Justice Hill, or are we going the Pacheco Montgomery route? Montgomery, I feel like this.
I think you kind of convinced me that on Justice Hill still being a little more matchup proof or game flow proof than the other guys at 4,800. And then I feel like Pacheco is the other good play here, right?
Yeah, I agree. So we have 5,500 left per player. And what's weird about this is like there's no one in the 5,000 range except for Zay Flowers. So it's like you can't just play those 5K receivers. Like if Green Bay was on the slate, maybe, but we could get like Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs or David Dontavian Wicks or something. But like those guys are out. I know you like Zay Flowers. You want to put Zay Flowers in there?
Yeah. I wonder if Laporta is actually the bad play here. Is Gibbs at the flex a better +3 option for Goff? And at tight end, you go to Andrews at 5,000. Does that work out better? I wonder. How much is Gibbs though? 6,800. Is that right?
6,400.
Yeah, it's still probably going to be tight, right?
Yeah, because now we have 5,250 left per player, which means like if you get to Ayuk, you have 3,600 left, which is Rashad Bateman. If you want to get to Zay Flowers, you have 4,700 left, but there's no one in that range except for Juwan Jennings. And like, do you want to play Juwan Jennings? Like, I don't.
Yeah, it's tricky.
So
maybe maybe go back to Laporta and see what if we do there. It's interesting.
Let's here I just want to see what this looks like. I don't want to settle into this, but like if you put Noah Gray in here, just the cheapest option, just punt once, you have 7,000 left per player. So you could have Ayuk and Rashee Rice, and then you could maybe even upgrade Gray to something else, maybe, or put You could have Flowers, Ayuk. Let's see what that looks like. Let's Ayuk and then Flowers. So you have 1,300 left. You can upgrade Gray to Nelson Aguilar. We didn't talk about Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar, Jameson Williams, Rashad Bateman.
I think Bateman's a better option than all those guys, right? I mean,
yeah. So you'd have something like this. You'd have Goff, Hill, Pacheco, St. Brown, Ayuk, Flowers, Laporta, Bateman, Lions. It's a lot of Ravens without Jackson. I don't love that. Like I said, like it's gonna be tough to make a lineup that looks really good.
I actually, instead of Bateman, I wonder like if MVS is actually a better play there. I can't believe I just said that out loud.
MVS or Tony or it's pretty brutal.
It's interesting. The punt at the flex position that does give you a little bit. If you went Noah Gray there, I actually think I feel more comfortable with Noah Gray than I do with MVS or Bateman, to be honest. Maybe as odd as that is, I wonder like at 2,500, I'd rather take the goose egg at 2,500 and then upgrade elsewhere, right? Like I feel like maybe instead of Flowers, like what are my options there? Can I get to
Rashee Rice?
Yeah, maybe that's a better. Like I feel better about that actually.
Yeah, I do too. In fact, this allows you to upgrade Lions defense to Ravens defense if you wanted.
Yeah.
So you could do that. That shit doesn't look bad. I wonder if because these tight ends are so good and there are no receivers in the 5K range, like these are basically the receivers in the 5K range, right? I wonder if it's right to get to Laporta and Kittle in some like really balanced, and like it's still hard to do that. Maybe you have to leave off Brandon Ayuk and go to Flowers or something. It's tough. So yeah, I mean this lineup doesn't look bad to me. We have one real punt in Gray. I wanted to build like a balanced lineup with no punts. Like I don't know if that's even possible.
Might not be possible.
Well, I think it involves leaving St. Brown off.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, so if you go Goff, maybe if you stack them with a running back and Laporta, or if you stack them just with, running back and a lesser receiver, if you stack them with Reynolds, then maybe that gives you a lot of other space to not have to have a punt position at all.
What if you go like this? What if you go like this? You have Goff, Hill, Montgomery, which like doesn't feel great, but whatever. It's a 2-game slate. Goff, Hill, Montgomery, Zay Flowers, Brandon Ayuk, Rashee Rice, Sam Laporta, George Kittle, Ravens defense. Actually, let's take out Ravens defense, put Lions defense, and see if we get anything else. 6,600. No, it's like not enough flyers in this range. It's the it's the tilting part. But maybe you can get better here. Maybe you can get the Gibbs. Yeah, you get the Gibbs Flowers. Okay. All right. So because I like Gibbs better with Goff. You know, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if you got Goff, Gibbs, and Laporta, I mean that's a solid, +2 stack. Ayuk, Rice, Flowers are all fine plays naked. I think Laporta and Kittle have good upside for a double tight end. If you're going to go double tight end, those are a good upside. You get the cheapest defense, so you don't need a lot there. You don't have to punt any of the positions. This might be a really good balanced lineup that actually still has decent upside.
Yeah. Of everything we put together, I think this is my favorite.
And this is the kind of lineup I would play this lineup both in cash games, contest, and in a GPP. I'd play them both.
Yeah, I think I like this the best. No punts. I mean, Hill's the closest thing to a punt, but like he's too involved to be a punt, I think. Yeah, I think this looks the best.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I look at it, the more I think Hill's actually a value at 4,800. Actually, he probably should have been a little more. He probably should have been in the 5K range. So I think I feel better and better as we've talked about that.
Yeah, just looking at him one more time. Ignore this week 18 because that's when the starters sat. He caught a couple passes and then that was it for him. Actually, he was targeted 10 times. I don't know what that was about, but that was with the backup quarterback. So in his past 3 real games, he's had 9, 22, and 8. I don't know. I mean, like he's had some really dud performances too.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. Yeah.
Ideally, like you would have ideally you would have Pacheco in here as well. But then I don't know. You still have to sacrifice something. What if you put Pacheco here, and then you take out Ayuk, but then there's just no receivers there,
right?
So it's a tough build. So yeah, I don't know. I this is probably the best way to do it. I think this week.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah, I mean. To play St. Brown, to even play St. Brown, you need a punt once, beyond Hill, and like maybe that's the way to go. Like maybe you try to figure someone out who could do well. I know we just brushed off Dustin Aguilar. Past 2 games, he's at 9.2, 8.9. Oh, this is the backup game. He had a 10 here against San Francisco. It feels like he catches touchdowns. Maybe we didn't talk about this guy. What do you think about Aguilar, real quick? I mean, yeah, you know him very well from being an Eagles fan.
I know that once upon a time he scored he caught nine balls in a Super Bowl, and 2 of them on 4th downs in must-need situations, and those were one of the greatest days of my adult life. And so I will forever love him for that. But do I trust him at 3,800 in a slate? The answer is no.
No, but he's had 5 touchdowns this year at least. He can get there.
Yeah, he could. If you got to get to him, because if you build a lineup that you just absolutely love at every other spot, and if Nelson Aguilar is your punt, you could do a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
But gosh, I'd rather not be in that situation where I'm having to rely on Nelson Aguilar.
I know. You definitely don't want to do it. I agree with that.
Not ideal.
No, it's not. Not at all. I think the other guy that I would think about is Reynolds in this Goff stack. If Raymond's out, I don't think he's as much of a punt because in these 3 games without Raymond, he's at 9.4, 13, and 10.7, which is perfectly fine. So if you want to go that route, if you want to take out Flowers and put in Reynolds, let's do that real quick. Let's see what that gives us. Put in Reynolds, suddenly you have 1,800 left. That's Pacheco.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's it's a quick QB +3, which is what Osimo has been doing all year. Yeah, I mean this is certainly unconventional because you have Goff without St. Brown.
Right.
But this might be the way to do it this week.
Right. I like your I like that line you said, unconventional or get weird without being stupid. I
Stupid.
think I think that's a helpful kind of as you would say in the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a good guideline.
Yep. Oh yeah, Jason Danson asking, what if I swap MVS with Aguilar? I can do that if I downgrade my defense to Lions. I'd rather have Aguilar personally. It's $400 more expensive, but like ideally try not to play these guys. We just built this balanced lineup. I think looks really good. Now it doesn't have McCaffrey, doesn't have Jackson, or it doesn't have St. Brown, but it's a tough build. Like there's no good. I feel like there's just no good value on the slate. I think we're usually pretty good at identifying value too. Like we came up with the Davis Allen spicy meatball in week 18. There are no spicy meatballs. It's just rancid meat that's been thrown out.
Well, between MVS and Aguilar, I'd rather just take the cheaper option. I'll just take MVS because he's cheaper.
At that point, I'd rather just play Tony at 3,200. Or Noah Gray at 2,500. Really,
yeah. To me, if I've got guys that are equally turd like, I'll just take the cheaper turd. That's kind of my thought.
Yeah. Would you rather pay $1 for a turd or 50 cents for a turd?
I love spending 50 cents for a turd when I could have spent $1. I mean, it's my favorite thing in the world.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, just not seeing anyone else here. I've been scanning through this. I scrolled through this 5 times yesterday. Just I even looked at Peoples Jones. What if he does something he doesn't caught a pass in the weeks, So it's I don't know. There's really nothing. Again, the one caveat: if Samuel's out, that suddenly opens an opportunity for Connolly at 3K. These are more garbage. These are more turds. Just you're gonna be more overflowing with turds here. But it opens that up. It opens up McLeod, who had 2 targets last week, and it opens up Ronnie Bell, who I played in week 18. He had 5 targets, but only came up with 1 catch, sadly. So it opens up those guys, but again, more turds. So speaking of one more turd, Sky Moore might be coming off IR, but he sucks too. So just thought I'd mention him. This is another turd.
Turds are us. So we got going on.
This is, man, I wish Green Bay won last week. We'd have some decent value at receiver. If it was, we could play Bo Melton. How great would Bo Melton be on the slate? I would love to play Bo Melton.
The Green Bay Packers should have used. They very easily could have won that game.
I know.
If the Packers defenders could catch even a little bit, that game would have been over with 10 minutes left to play.
So, I know. Yeah, it's disappointing. I had 2 Rainmaker Packer players, at Aaron Jones and Jaden Reed. If the Packers survived, I'd have a Rainmaker lineup this week. And there's the Rainmaker contest hasn't even filled yet on Rainmakers yet. It's like the top 30 pay out, and there's 20 entries or something like that. Or I would love to have a lineup there. So I'd also have Jordan Love. I'd have Pacheco, legendaries, and I don't know who else, but anyway. So I guess that's it for this portion. Do you have a packs open?
I don't. I've no more packs for me. I think this year, unfortunately, I didn't win any this week, and I didn't buy any. So
okay, I have one. We'll get.
You're a degenerate.
Well, I don't only bought it for this show. If we're not doing this show, I would not have bought it.
You're a man of the people, Walt.
I guess you could say that.
You're a man of the people.
All right, so I want to tweet this out because people like when we open packs. So there we go. Just 1 second here. Opening up packs now. Okay. I bought this pack for $32. This is the rookie debut booster pack. It comes with 3 cards. 2 are core. 1 has a 50-50 chance of being rare. Again, I don't know why that's just to give you the rare. But there's two reasons why I bought this pack. One, all these cards will be usable in 2024. This is the rookie debut set. And so you'll be able to just craft them without a token for 2024 cards, which is awesome. So like all these cards, like if I got like hypothetically this was not usable for 2024 and I got like a Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm like, okay, I can use that in a past season contest, but I'm not going to be able to make that much money off of it. Whereas these cards, I can make money off of them next year, which is sweet. So that's just one reason. Two, I think it's kind of interesting that there are three players who are really usable this weekend. You have Rashee Rice in the set, you have Jahmyr Gibbs in the set, and you have Zay Flowers in the set. So any one of those polls I can use this weekend and maybe the Super Bowl. So I think that's exciting. The San Francisco is the only team that doesn't have a rookie in this set. So with that in mind, let's open this pack. You can see this, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's open this pack and I'm hoping for a rare Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that would be the best pull here.
Let's go. Let's do it. The sound effects are missing here. We're very sad.
You don't get the sound? Okay. So we got a rare. So that's a good sign. Let's hope it's not like Jake Haener or something. Or my arch nemesis Marvin Mims is in this set too. Let's see if I can avoid him. Let's open up the first core.
All right, this is going to be David Montgomery.
Kendre Miller. What are your thoughts on Kendre Miller? Because I thought he looked good in the finale. Like he was injured for most of the year. He didn't get to play. And then
he's 0 to 60 in no time, right? I mean, he's a shot out of a cannon, very quick, shifty. I think he's got a decent NFL future.
I have a Kendre Miller legendary rookie debut, so that's gonna be a legendary for next year. The thing is, like, he's blocked by Kamara, but Kamara is getting on the older side. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's like I don't think Kendre Miller is that bad, like of a purchase here. Like if you were to buy him on the secondary market, I mean, I was really impressed with what I saw in week 18 with him.
Yeah.
Because like he was just injured the whole year. Like we barely got to see him. And then in week 18, we finally saw him. So I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah. Kamara hasn't lost a step though. So it's hard to know, but maybe he's not there forever. So Miller might be blocked for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true. And Kamara tends to get injured too. So, all right. So let's open up the second core card. It is Zay Flowers. Okay. So that is someone I could use. Yeah, I could use him in a rare lineup. I could play him up. Yeah, so so that's at least one card I could use this weekend and maybe the Super Bowl. So it's pretty cool. All right, rare. I want this to be Jahmyr Gibbs. There's some good ones. Bijan Robinson, all the rookies. Who else is there? Jackson Smith and Jigba. You have Rashee Rice. Who am I missing? You have Zay Flowers. Obviously, I could get another Zay Flowers. I don't want
to be a rookie receiver. Detroit's got a rookie.
There's the tight ends are not in the set, unfortunately.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So yeah, it'd be awesome if Sam Laporta was here, but he's not available.
All right, Gibbs it is then.
So it'd be Gibbs, Bijan, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice. Like those are the top 5 guys. Yeah. I don't want Marvin Mims. Please don't give me 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 Marvin Mims. Zay Flowers. Okay, there we go. Nice.
Back to back Zay. All right.
I like it. That's it's a good card, I think. So I paid $32 for this to see if I made my money back.
There's not a chance.
Well, I'll say Jahmyr Gibbs is $60 here. Bijan's $60 as well. So I don't know what Zay Flowers is. The rookie debut Zay Flowers. It's $24.80. So I almost made my money back. Look at this. $24.80 plus $3.35. That's about $28.10, and then plus a $1.14. It's $29.20. So I'm $4 or $3 off of making my money back.
That's a good return. I mean, it's like a slot machine return. I mean, it's good.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah. So if you look at this Lamar Jackson here, just hoping that wins me some money this weekend. But yeah, that's a good pull, I think, for a pack. Like we've pulled some horrible packs
Horrible
here.
packs.
Like
Yes.
I spent $60 on a pack last week. I got $4 worth. So they're like, as far as only losing $4, like that's a win for
It's pretty good.
Yep, for sure. All right. Do we have anything else? The people demand Marvin. I would have had a mental breakdown if it was Marvin Mims again.
People demand Marvin. That's so good.
All right. Jason asked, what is this? This is Rainmakers. Highly recommend it. If you go to Rainmakers, you can get a free pack and just play it in a lineup. Actually, you may not get guys for the playoffs, but still,
Right.
you can still get a free pack and play it next year or whatever. It's like DraftKings, except you own the players and you can play them all year. It doesn't and lineups are free. Like every contest entry is free. You just need to have the cards to enter. All right. So anything else?
It's a big piece of it, obviously.
Not in Wisconsin, I don't think. I don't know about Wisconsin. Not even in PA. I'm in PA. I have to go into Jersey to set my lineup, so it's a pain in the butt. So anyway,
out of those communist states, guys. Come on, come to Florida.
I you don't need to give this many. My wife doesn't want to come for the humidity. But yeah, so thecapIsFake.com. Want to plug this?
Yeah, thecapIsFake.com. If you believe the salary cap is real, please go to this website and learn otherwise. So got a few articles. I've not posted anything new recently, but I'm getting some traction. Funny, interesting enough. Getting some people have been finding me on Google and ripping me on Twitter. I love it. So check it out. ThecapIsFake.com.
I love getting the fights on Twitter. It's the best thing ever. So we're going to be back tomorrow with Quacky Takes on Thursday around 10:30 to 11 start time. So we're going to be going over the picks again and getting to hear what Quacky has to say about them and also his response to the Packer loss. Condolences to him as a lifelong Packer fan. I want to hear his experiences from that game. Saturday notes as well. So we'll be back on Saturday as well before the Sunday games. And then full, I don't know about full week next week. I don't know what we're doing next week, Kenny, because there's no NFL DraftKings. So we're there.
DraftKings Pro Bowl on the Pro Bowl flag football game. Come on, man.
Oh. Okay, well, we can break that down if you want. So, yeah, I don't. So we'll discuss. I'll let you guys know if we're doing a show next week. So, but yeah, normal schedule. Otherwise, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description of the merch store. All that would be really appreciated. And thanks, guys, for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. And Kenny, hopefully one of us wins the $1 million this week, and hopefully it's one with the balanced lineup that we came up with that seemed to be the best.
I'm winning the $1 million. I'll be in Aruba next week.
All right. Well, okay. So yeah, no show as you just heard. All right, Kenny. I'll talk to you later.
You the man, Walt.